In today's video, we're going to be learning how to find the volume of irregular figures. So we know our four volume formulas for a rectangular prism, for a cylinder, for a cone, and for a sphere. Now with these irregular figures, you're going to use a combination of these formulas. Okay, so if we look in this first figure here, we have a cylinder, right, with a cone on top of it. So I'm going to break this down into parts. So the top part here, I'm going to call it piece one, and we're going to use our cone formula, not corn formula, cone formula. All right, and then this part right here we have, which is our cylinder formula. So part two here is our similar formula. So we're using those two formulas to figure out our volume. And what do we do with those once we find them? We have to add them together. So we're going to add these two numbers at the end once I figure them out. So in the first figure, I have to figure out what the radius is. All right. So, and the height. Well, they give us the height, which is nice. All right. So we have 1/3. Let me do this in a different color. We have 1/3 pi. I don't know what the r is yet, but I can figure it out. The height we know is 3. All right, so here's how we figure out the radius. We know if you look all the way to the bottom, the diameter is 4. So if the diameter is 4, that means this radius here is 2. That means the radius of here is also 2, because we know the radius is half the diameter. So it is inside 2 squared. All right, let's put that in our calculator. One fraction button third pi 2 squared. I'm going to put those in parentheses. 2 squared, and then times 3. And I'm going to round my answer to the nearest hundredth, because in my final answer, I'm going to put it to the nearest tenth. So this is about 12.57 after I plug in all of this. All right, now to find the height of our cylinder. So with the cylinder, we know that this whole thing, the height of the whole thing is 10, and I know this is 3. In order to figure out the height of the cylinder, I have to cut out this 3 from the total height. So 10 minus 3, that means this part right here is 7 centimeters. So the volume of this is going to be pi. My radius is still 2. 2 squared times the height, which is 7. Back to my calculator. Pi and then 2 squared, pi, parentheses, 2 squared, and the parentheses. And then, what was it? I said 7, right? 87.96. Okay. And then I have to, like I said before, add these two together to get my final volume, which I'm going to round to the nearest tenth. So 12.57 just going to use this calculator so I can see it. 12.57 plus 87.96 is 100.53. So I'm going to round this to the nearest tenth, and you're going to do that as well. 100.5 is my final answer. So basically, you're just figuring out the volume of one figure and find the volume of the other figure, and then either add them together. Sometimes you might have to subtract them depending on the scenario, but this one you have to add these two figures together. Okay. In this diagram, we notice we have three parts to this. Okay. The first part, we have a cone, right? The top, or not the top, the left part of it, we have the cone. This part of it, that's ugly too. We have a cylinder. The other part was the cone. And then the last part, we have a sphere, but we have half of a sphere. It's not the entire sphere, right? It's only the top half portion of it, or I guess the right side portion of it. Okay, so we're adding three parts together. All right, let's start off with the cone. All right. So the cone, we need a radius, right? 1/3 pi r squared h, and the height. Okay, well, the height is 5, right? So that's going to be the height of the cone. The radius, do they give us the radius? The radius, no, they do give us this, though. They tell us that this is 6. That means the whole thing here is 6. That means the radius is going to be half of that. So the radius of this is going to be 3. The radius of this is also going to be 3. So this is actually going to be 3 squared. So I'm going to plug those numbers into my calculator. 1/3 pi, where are we at? Pi parentheses 3 squared. And what was the height? The height was 5. 47.12. All right, 47.12. All right, now the cone. I'm sorry, not the cone, the cylinder. Change my color here. So we have pi r squared h. All right, so pi r squared, which we know the radius is 3. 3 squared. And the height, do we know that? We know this is 5, right? We know this whole thing is 16. We know this is 5, so, and we know this part right here is also, this is going to be the same thing as this, which is the same thing as this. So if this is 3, that means this is 3, that means this is 3. So technically, this part and this part cut out of the entire thing, right? 16 minus 5 minus 3. So that means this part is going to be, let me do this in a different color here. This part right here is going to be 8, right? 5 plus 8 plus 3 is the whole thing, which is 16. So actually, the height of the cylinder is 8. All right, plug that in our calculator. pi 3 squared times 8. 226.19. And last but not least, we have our sphere. Which is now half of a sphere, though. Be careful, it's half of it. So it's this with the half at the beginning. So it's 1/2 4/3 pi r. We know the r is this part right here, 3 cubed. All right, double check. Yep, 4/3 pi r cubed. Back to our calculator. 1/2. Put next to it 4/3. Maybe I should put that in parentheses. Good thing I did that. 1/2. 4/3. Pi 3 cubed. 56.55 because that's an 8. 56.55. So now I'm going to add all three of these numbers together. 47.12 plus 226.19 plus 56.55, and that is 329.86. I'm going to round it to the nearest tenth, so it is 329. What was it? 9.9. So on your answers to these, I want you to round to the nearest tenth. Okay, so again, figuring out the volume of different figures using the diagrams to help manipulate your numbers here, and then kind of put in those answers. All right, so that's it for today's video. Thank you for watching. Let me know if you have any questions.